Welcome to the Tailwind Marketing Podcast, where we talk to IT marketing leaders about how to drive more sales. Hosted by Carlos Corredor, founder of Corredor, an Inc. 5000 company and one of the fastest growing IT marketing agencies in the US.
3, 2, 1, 0.
This episode is brought to you by Corredor, a digital marketing agency for mid-market IT companies. Most IT marketing teams struggle to drive sales, overwhelmed by long sales cycles and an elusive audience. Corredor helps you measure and generate a qualified pipeline, make the most with your budget, and finally get executive recognition. You can learn more at condoragency.com. Today, we're really excited to have Eric Herzog on the podcast. I'll do a brief intro, but I'll let him talk more about his background. He's currently the Chief Marketing Officer at Infinidat, which is a storage software provider and services provider. But beyond that, he's truly a titan in the IT marketing industry. So, Eric, why don't you walk us through that background experience before we jump into some of the insights that I know you'll have a lot of them to share with the audience.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Carlos. We appreciate you guys inviting us to speak to the audience today. We really thank you very much for including us. So my background is actually very broad. So first of all, I've been in IT for 40 years. I started in product management and then moved into marketing. In fact, although at Infinidat, I don't run product management, as recently as my last stint at IBM Storage, I ran product management as well as the marketing function. But I started literally as a product manager, specifying products, pricing, margin analysis, forecasting, which is a traditional product management job. I'm also a hybrid because I've done very large global Fortune 500. I was at Maxtor when they were a Fortune 500. They got acquired by Seagate, which is a Fortune 500 still. I was at one of my startups was acquired by IBM. I was at EMC, which is now part of Dell, but when EMC was its own company, it was a Fortune 500. And then I ended up at IBM a second time. So those are all large companies, but interspersed with that has been 8 different startups. All of them have been in the enterprise storage world. So I've done nothing but storage. I haven't done servers, right? I haven't done networks. I've just done enterprise storage. And that background has included delivering storage technology directly to end users, delivering storage technology through a channel, and delivering storage technology literally to other companies, AKA when I was at Seagate and when I was at IBM the first time, we sold hard drives, and we sold those not to end users, we sold them to other companies that then sold to the end users. So I've done all 3 of those. And then because of my background on the startup side, my breadth is much larger than a traditional marketing person. So as an example, on top of having been managing product management almost my entire career, as well as the marketing side, I've been a chief revenue officer 4 times. I've been a CFO once. I've been the vice president of human resources / HR, if you want to call it that, 3 times. And 3 times I've been the vice president of manufacturing and logistics. And in all of those times, I was also the CMO. So my breadth is very much more general manager-ish, because I've run sales, I've run marketing, I've run product management, I run support and service, I've run finance, although that was only for 18 months. I've run HR for like 5 years at 3 different companies that span so the background is broad. So I've got big company, small company, and I've got a much broader breadth than a lot of people that are traditional marketing people. So that's my background, and I've been doing this since the mid 1980s, when most of the people listening probably weren't even born yet.
Very rare that you say that someone's overqualified for a CMO role. But yeah, that's great for people to hear, because I want to go over topics that encompass all of that, right? And one of the things that I noticed, right off the gate, is how you mentioned, or how in your LinkedIn profile, one of your your bullet points is consistently exceeds P&L targets, right? That's something that you tend to see on the CFO roles, on the CEO roles, but not usually in any marketing leadership role. And I think that speaks to that experience that you're mentioning, right? And I think any CEO, any owner, any board of advisors would be really excited to read that, you know, in the description of the CMO as well. So
yeah, well, that comes from the product management side, and several of the companies in the product management side, my bonus money was tied to the P&L of my group, my business group that I owned, right? So then the P&L would flow up from myself to the general manager, and the general manager to the CEO. But my general manager, who was my direct boss in those instances, also carried a P&L as well. Now, sometimes it was multiple P&Ls, my P&L plus one or two other people, but I controlled my own P&L. And at one of the companies, my P&L was $10.5 billion a year. So yeah, whereas if someone's a traditional CMO only and hasn't done product management, you might see lead generation targets, you might see sales assist targets, right? Because that's a traditional CMO only, but that background is from the product management side. So yeah, it does gives you a different frame of reference than a traditional, marketing person.
And what have you mentioned 40 years of experience, right? How have you seen the role of marketing in IT, or in your particular case, especially storage companies, but let's say IT in general, right? How has the role of marketing and the expectations of the marketing team evolved during that time?
Sure. So first of all, marketing is a spectrum. It starts with the more technical aspects of marketing, technical marketing, product marketing, and then solutions marketing. Those are all tend to be very technically tied. So for example, all my product marketing managers I have at Infinidat, all the ones I had at IBM or EMC before it was acquired by Dell, were all very technical people with degreed engineers. Okay. Same with solutions marketing and same with technical marketing. Then that spans into what I call where you don't need that expertise. So digital marketing, campaign marketing, channel marketing, obviously website, which you could argue is its own thing, or you could characterize that as digital. So it's basically, if you will, a spectrum from very technical stuff that's very close to being like a product manager to things that are very non-technical. Okay. So one, I've seen the evolution as smart companies realize that marketing is a team sport, which means that marketing needs to work heavily with product management, which of course, in many cases I run it too, but product management and with a sales team. Doing marketing on its own to have cool looking ads or cool looking data sheets, that's nice. But if it doesn't drive sales activity, there's no money to pay your salary. Okay. So that's one. Second thing is teamwork within marketing, particularly in big organizations. I think people have realized in a large, corporate environment, you can't have technical marketing not connected to solutions marketing, not connected to the channel. So let me do an easy example. We just won 3 awards for our technology. Okay, great. What did we do? A, we did a press release. B, we have an awards deck that's used by the sales team, the field team, and our channel partners to talk about how wonderful Infinidat is. We updated that. We did a blog on how many awards. On both the press release and the blog, we put it into our social media rotation and drive people to that. Okay, we use these awards in our data sheet and other content that we deliver. When I do videos, I talk about the awards all the time. In fact, earlier this morning, I was presenting to one of our channel partners doing a training. I'm doing one actually shortly after we do this podcast. And I am going to be talking about how we won the award. So we're using it as part of the sales cycle, part of the training cycle, part of the content cycle, part of the social cycle, part of the channel cycle, and using it from a press and analyst relations cycle. So again, an integrated marketing approach where everything is working together, right? And we're using it for all kinds of various strategies. Oftentimes, in some companies, they don't have this. So channel marketing is off doing one thing, the press guys are doing something else. So I believe that integrated approach is the modern way to do things, where everything reinforces everything else. Now, not everything you're going to do impacts every aspect of the marketing function, but the bulk of the things do, right? So we just did a major launch, probably the biggest launch in the last 8 years of the company, and it involved the channel marketing team, the product marketing team, the technical marketing team, the solutions marketing team, the guys who work on our competitive, which is part of the marketing team, the website team, the campaign team, the press team, the analyst relations team, the digital marketing team, and the social marketing team. Every single, oh, by the way, we also have someone who's a graphic designer. So every aspect of the marketing function was rallied around the launch and reinforced each other. And that's what you need in modern day marketing.
And to do that, right, to be able to get to that maturity stage of doing all of those things in an integrated manner, do you think it's mostly a matter of mindset, of understanding the importance of doing it, or I'm sure there are other challenges and probably other advice on how to get to that stage that you could share?
Yeah. So the first thing I think is clearly, as you said, a mindset. Business is a team sport. Okay, business is American football, it's soccer, it's basketball, it's hockey, it's baseball. It is not wrestling. I was a collegiate wrestler. It's not track. It's not swimming. It's not pole vaulting. It's not bowling. It's a team sport. Okay, then you have to make sure that all the elements of the team realize in order to win the game, to win the World Series, to win the World Cup, since the Olympics are coming up, to win the Olympic gold medal, all elements of the team need to work together. And if you take a look at, there are famous athletes in team sports, they never won the World Series. They never won the World Cup. They never won the Super Bowl. They're in their Hall of Fame for that particular sport as one of the best in the history of that sport, but they didn't win the big game. And why? Because they were great, but the team was mediocre. And so that's why you have to have the mindset, and then B, you have to work together. So for example, at Infinidat, and I did the same thing at every company I've been at, big or small, IBM and EMC, same thing. Team meeting every Monday, everyone attends. Preset agenda. Everybody gets their stuff together. Everyone then talks about it. Okay, then myself as the CMO or my senior manager say, oh, whoa, okay, we need to work this together. Let's work that together. So we do that literally every week. Now, in some companies, maybe it should be every other week, but we do it every week, and we did it every week when I was at EMC and IBM, which are huge companies.
Everybody in the company, or just the function?
No, just the marketing teams. Just the marketing teams. Okay, I also meet individually with all my direct reports. So all of the directors and managers that work for me, I meet with them one-on-one every week, and I encourage all of them to meet with their teams every week. And guess what? Especially in the bigger companies, not only did I meet with at EMC, for example, I was a senior VP, had 2 VPs reporting to me and 4 directors. Not only did I meet with them each one once a week, I met with them alone, not with the entire team once a week. I met with the entire team once a week, and then each one of them met with their teams alone once a week. So, and by the way, if you do it with a set agenda and you do it quick, you're not wasting time. And so part of that teamwork is to be an efficient team as well. If you work willy-nilly and everyone's running at cross functions, you actually usually end up A, less effective, and B, it usually costs you more money because everyone's not leveraging everything together. And leveraging, even when you're the big companies that can afford to spend money, you still want it to be efficient, right? You want marketing to deliver an efficient return on investment for the corporation. That means working together as a team, optimizing, and I don't care how big the budgets are. I don't care if your marketing budget is $1 billion. $1 billion effectively managed is better than $1 billion where half of it is wasted because everyone doesn't work as a team. So it gives you not only a better marketing mix, it gives you the better capability of marketing benefiting sales and benefiting the company. And it also lets you actually do more marketing per dollar you're spending because you're doing it efficiently. So if you're going to do 1 million activities, if you're $1 billion marketing budget, if you do it willy-nilly, maybe it's only 500,000 because you're wasting money. And it's all about the game is efficiency. And when a CMO is talking to the CEO, because I have never met a CMO who didn't work for a CEO, or to the board of directors even in a private company, there's a board of directors. You need to be able to say, we did this, we did this, we did this. Here's our metrics. Here's how we did it. Here's how we work together. And those are things that you need in modern marketing, is that really reinforced effort. But you do that by having everyone work as a team, just like a well-oiled football team, baseball team. If they're going to constantly win the championship, they do it because the team is good, not because one person is good or two people is good, because the team together works as a unit. And that's what wins the games.
It's refreshing. There's a I think there's a swell today of popular opinion going against meetings. But as you mentioned, right, it's if you do them efficiently, there's no better time spent than the heads or the people involved in a particular project to talk about how it's going and to make sure that then the rest of the week or the rest of the month is spent with that sole goal and focus in mind.
Yeah, right. And I think the reason you see the trend against meetings is most meetings are willy-nilly and wasteful. So I would argue that the success to good meetings, rigor and discipline. Remember, I'm an ex-athlete. I may not look like it anymore, but I really was an Olympic class wrestler. And I didn't wrestle a heavy weight. I was a really skinny guy. It's all about rigor and discipline. I lifted weights hour and a half every day. We had practice 2 hours every day. And we all were told to run 10 miles every night. And every night we ran. And 3 nights a week we ran as a team. Everyone came back from studying at the library or wherever, had to show up at 10:30 at night, rain or shine, and everybody ran together as a team, even though it was an individual sport. But everyone did the same thing. Everybody lifted weights for X amount of hours. And by the way, you were taking a full class load. This is college. You can't just you got to take your classes too. You got to graduate, right? So this is taking full class loads. It's rigor and discipline. So if you have the right strategy in your meetings of rigor and discipline and focus, you will be able to execute and you won't waste times in meetings. But I can see where people say, oh, meetings are a waste of time. I've been in those meetings before, but they're not my meetings.
Yeah. And not to deviate the conversation from marketing too much, but I just wanted to add that it's so refreshing to hear sports analogies in the marketing world. We do that in our agency all the time. I played competitive tennis growing up, and I love and played other sports, in particular team sports. For example, soccer is the one that I think I've played the most, right? And it's completely different. Some type of people, they're really good at individual sports, and even though they're really athletic, they don't add value to a team sport, even though they might be good athletes, right? And vice versa. Most importantly, I think whether it's individual or group, if you have a competitive sports mindset, you are used to learning from your mistakes instead of thinking too much about them, communicating in a constructive way as a team instead of pointing fingers, instead of being defensive. You're coachable, right? So those are things that we look for in the people that we bring to the agency and in our team development. And not everybody gets it, or at least think about it in so strongly. So to me, it's refreshing to hear all of those analogies, coming from, again, somebody with your experience.
Well, again, remember, it's always about getting better. I may be an old guy, but I'm in a startup. Okay. And if you get, as we say, fat, dumb, and happy, that's the problem. Okay. You need to get out on the mat. You need to get out on the pitch. You need to get in the water. You need to get out on the field every darn day. And for professional athletes, they get paid on winning, and they get paid on getting on those fields every day. And they have to continue to do it. And you need to look at marketing or business. It's a team sport. That's why I use that. It is a team sport. Business is a sport. You play it. If you're publicly traded, you're playing it every day. You're certainly playing it every quarter. Did you make the number? How's the stock doing? Blah, 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 blah. And if your private company is, we need to beat the you-know-what out of all those public companies, even though we don't privately, since we're private, we don't tell everybody we're not on the New York Stock Exchange, or you don't see us on Yahoo Finance. The point is, we need to go beat those guys, because if we don't beat those guys, we're going to go out of business. So that analogy that business is a team sport is not just a marketing thing. And you're right. There are people who are not team players, and that's a problem. And there are people who are, as you said, excellent athletes. Okay. And they never win the Super Bowl or the World Series because they're arrogant. They don't work with the other people. They sit off in the corner in the room. That's not how it works. It is the ultimate team sport, is a business. And that also means, as you said, you got to look at the game films. You know, always be critical. If you won we've won 25 awards in Infinidat between January and July. Okay. I told the team, not good enough. We need to win 35 awards in that same time frame. What do we got to do? Awards? What do we got to do push the products better. What do we have? It's, again, you got to get on, and since I was a wrestler, I use the mat analogy, although I also played baseball in high school. So either get on the field or get on that mat every damn day, and you got to be ready to go and try to win. That's how it works. And business is the ultimate, because, by the way, if you want to buy a house, if you want to send your kids to college, if you want to buy nice presents for your parents, your family, your friends, you got to have the money. And you don't get money. I mean, yes, some people inherit it, but people who really make money work hard at it and work as a team.
Yeah. And so making money, quarterly earnings, the bottom line, right? That's, I think in the modern world, I think every marketer is measuring in one way or another, some better than others, but ultimately they're focused on that. And I would argue that they're so focused on that a lot of times all of the effort and the strategy is around high intent bottom funnel tactics. I've seen you talk a lot about more top funnel efforts, right? When you reach a certain stage and you want to continue scaling, you can not only depend on those bottom funnel tactics, right? Can you talk us a little bit about that? What's top of funnel done right?
So first of all, you need to have a strategy. That marketing strategy needs to meld with the corporate strategy. What is the strategy of the corporation? What are you trying to do? How are you trying to grow? What are you trying to do? Then you need to have a marketing strategy around that. And then you have to line at every level of what you're doing, from the ground up tactics to the high level tactics and all the way up to the top. And that's what you need to do. So you need to make sure that you have a strategic approach. So first of all, even in a sports analogy, there's a strategy and the tactics to win. So in the business, same thing. In the marketing, you need to have the strategy. Here's what our strategy is, and here's the tactics to accomplish that strategy. If you just do strategy, that sounds good, great. That doesn't win the game. And if you just do the tactics, you're not going to win the game either. So again, that's part of the reason why you have these very focused, very disciplined and rigorous meetings that are not overly long. So everyone is aligned, everybody's communicating, everyone is taking the strategy and following up with the tactics that support that strategy. And by the way, sometimes some companies change their strategy. So when they change the strategy, you better change the tactics too. And the marketing strategy better change if the corporate strategy changes. So I would argue it's a mix between the bottom and the top. And you need to make sure the bottom and the top are aligned. That's the thing, is they've got to be in a line. So if your strategy for sake of, so let's take IT. And IT kind of has three segments. Those companies that sell into the people who sell to the end users, right? So what's known in the IT world is kind of the OEMs. Then you have those who function in the channel way, right? So the channel actually delivers to the end users, and some that are end user, and some that do multitudes. IBM, for example, when I was there, had a division that did OEM and sold literally to IBM's competitors. A bunch of the divisions use the channel and direct, and there are a couple divisions that only did direct. But the corporation had, here's what our goal is at a strategy, and then each of those different routes to market followed that to achieve the goal with the appropriate tactics on the marketing front, on the sales front, and on the product front.
And in the case of creating awareness in the IT world, where perhaps, I mean, in B2B, but in particular in IT, right? The creative part, it's more challenging, it's more technical. What have you seen as successful ways to create awareness, but then also that awareness can evolve into high intent and eventually some closed clients?
Yeah, so I would say that the thing you need to do in IT in particular, and any area of the high tech world, is got to make sure that the marketing has meat. If it's just fluff and it's all soft and it's all specious comments, that doesn't do you any good. At the same time, if you're overly technical, that doesn't do you any good either. So if you're at the high end, we tend to be high end. So 28% of the Fortune 50 buy our products, and we're a smaller company. We're not 100 billion like Dell is. We're not 70 billion like IBM, but 28% of the 50 biggest companies buy from us. Why? Because we can show them both business and technical value. So the smart move in high tech is to show business and technical value. You make sure you get to that. whatever are the advantages, the marketing team needs to emphasize them. But again, they need to be positive. Okay. And they need to be real. Okay. The last thing you want is marketing spewing things out, the sales team using that as part of their sales strategy, and then the customers get it, or the channel partners get it, and it doesn't do anything you said it does. Okay. I believe you have to have meat. Okay. There's that old commercial that only old people like me remember from Wendy's, the fast food chain. Where's the beef? With this old lady, where's the beef? And the whole strategy of Wendy's was to prove that they gave you more meat for your money than McDonald's or Burger King. But the point was, where's the meat? Where's the beef? And that was the strategy used. And I believe that in high tech in particular, you have to have that. If you just say, I've got the fastest thing on the planet, you better be able to prove it. If you say, I can do these 12 things, you better be able to do them. And if you say you do them better, just like I'm on the wrestling mat, if I say I'm better, I have to beat them. If I'm pole vaulting, you're right, the target needs to get higher. If you're a track guy or a swimmer, you have to swim faster or run the 100-meter faster. And if you're in a sport, since it's a sports analogy, you have to win more games, right? And then win the championship. So in this case, you have to back it up with reality. And sometimes in high tech, people do specious arguments that have no grounding in reality, which then means the end users don't believe the marketing message. Okay. They don't believe the sales teams. The sales teams don't believe the marketing teams, and they go make up their own thing. And that's not right either. So it's very clear in my world that in high tech in particular, you better have where's the beef. If you don't have it, the marketing programs are just a waste of time. You're wasting money because you're not elucidating the true value. And in high tech, there's two sets of values: the business value. How does the tech make so let's assume you're selling to someone who's not a high tech. So if you're high tech selling to high tech, it's a little different because the CEOs tend to be technical. But let's say you're high tech selling to a consumer company. Okay. Does the tech make them manufacture the car faster? If it does, that's a win. And the CEO will understand that and say, we need to buy that technology. It makes our cars faster, or our cars safer, or it makes the donuts faster, tastier, and wow, it's a win. And technology can do that, but that's a business value. Okay. The technology part is, well, here's how you make it faster. Here's what the software does to modify the robot, to build the door faster, Okay. That's the tech side. The CEO probably doesn't appreciate that, but if the CEO knows you can build 2 million car doors in an hour instead of 1 million, that translates into profitability for the company, as long as it's with the right quality. So you understand. So you got to translate technical value into business value. The other thing you need to do along those same lines is play to your audience. The message to the CEO, unless it's tech to tech, but if it's tech to the bulk of the customers, they're not technical. So the CEO isn't technical. What's the message of the CEO? What does the CFO want to hear? On the technical side, what's the technical value? And even then you have to talk with, at the bottom level in my world, it's the storage administrator. Then it's the storage manager. Then it's the director of storage. Then it's usually the VP of infrastructure. Then it's the CIO. And I've never met a CIO in all the years I've done storage, which is close to 40 years. I have never, ever once met a CIO who used to be a storage manager or storage admin. They know they need it, but they really don't like to spend money on it. So, but if you can say, now, Mr. CIO, that Oracle workload, if you use our storage instead of 5 hours, it's going to take 5 minutes. And by the way, prove it. Take that workload with a stopwatch, time it, then take it, put it on our storage, time it. So there we're using meat, okay, that it really is faster. That's the meat. That has technical value, but the CIO is not a storage guy. So you have to be able to say, my storage gives you better cybersecurity with all the cyber attacks. My storage makes it faster. My storage cuts your CapEx and OpEx. That's what the CIO needs to hear, or the CFO, because they often have to approve the budget. And so you have to balance in high tech, technical value and business value, and then modify your messaging based on where you are in the chain of command, right? When you're with a storage admin, you can talk all kinds of storage nerdiness. When you're talking to the CIO, unless you know the CIO used to be a storage admin, that will kill you. And I don't care what your high-tech product is. If you don't know who your audience is, you'll frame the message wrong. And you need to understand how technical the audience is, even if they're in IT, because they do vary. Or maybe There's a couple of people who really understand your technology, in my case, storage well. But as you move up the chain, they've got broader view, and most CIOs are mostly out of the software side of IT. That's where the bulk of them come from. They know they need storage, they know they need servers, but boy, if you are an Oracle guy or Microsoft, oh God, this is so cool. When you're talking storage, they're yawning. But not if you say, what if I could take that? What if I could carve $60 million out of your storage budget so you could use it for AI, to do your AI work? You got the CIO's attention. Now you got to prove it to them. But again, you got to have the right message. You don't want to talk to the storage admin about, yeah, we could carve $61 million out of your storage budget so the CIO can use that. The storage admin's going, no, I don't deal with that product. That's not my job. I need to make the storage this and storage. So you have to change your messaging based on the audience. Nobody should be talking to their so if you're old enough and you've got a 50-year-old kid, you didn't talk to the 50-year-old kid the same way when he or she was 35. And you certainly didn't talk to them when they were 35 the same way you talked to them when they were in college. And when they were in school, you talked to them differently from when they were in college. And when they were a little kid, not even school yet, you have to do your frame of reference and make sure you can be having the same concept, but the way you convey the concept to a 50-year-old person is way different from a 5-year-old person. And part of marketing's job is to do that kind of messaging and nest all these right frameworks in the right way, but you need to back it up again. You got to have the meat. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time.
Right, but for you, I mean, you've been in the industry 40 years on the product side, on the marketing side, on the business side, on the finance side. So you came up with 4 great messages and copy in 2 seconds, right? But how do you get your team to do that, right? Like, who approves the copywriting in your team, for example, and how does that work?
Yeah. So the way it works is I've got the right mix. So for example, let's take content. All my product marketing managers approve the content, or me personally. I'm technical. My product marketing manager is technical. That doesn't mean the content people won't come up with it. By the way, when I did that channel partner training today, which was moderately tech, not totally training, part of it was why we're the right company to work with, okay, the relationship side. But the other part was technical. 3 people on my team were listening to me present so that they can understand the technology better, which also means when they create their channel message, create their content message, create their digital message, the highly likely that's got more value. So, and again, part of that is a teamwork. You don't, and if the content people are really technical, that's one thing. If they're not, they need to be working with product marketing, tech marketing, solutions marketing to make sure that is the right message. Again, working as a team, working as a team, working as a team. Take a football analogy. You don't tell the quarterback to go tackle people. He doesn't play defense. I mean, in the old days they did, because I'm old enough to remember doing that. I did that in high school. Okay. But today, nobody does it. Even in high school, they don't do that anymore. Okay. But in the old days, they did. And in the professional football, they used to do that. And even in the early days, there wasn't everybody doing that. There was a few people. Well, now you don't do that. So everyone has their area of expertise. If I'm supposed to block, I block. And I need to do it 100% as part of the team strategy with my team tech. So the strategy is we're going to attack this team by running the football. That's how we're going to attack that team. Okay, great. That's the strategy. Then the tactics are we're going to run left. We're going to run right. We're going to do this, run that. And we're going to throw a pass every once in a while. Those are the tactics. But your job is to execute. So the lineman executes his job, the quarterback his job, the running back his job, the wide receivers their job. And then on the defensive side, the exact opposite. I'm going to tackle this guy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to defend the pass. And so the way you do that, when you don't have the experience I have, is you make sure that people are working as a team. That's the whole point of the team. You've got experts in this and expert. I don't expect my product marketing guys to come up with the best channel marketing campaign. It's not their job. That's Lindsay Marshall's job and Corinne on my team. Their job is to come up with a channel strategy. Now, if that channel strategy involves some technology angle to it, they run it by my product marketing team because they're not technical. So that's how you do it. That's part of the reason you have a team. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. I'm sure that since you played soccer, how many soccer goalies were great as a forward? I'm sure there was a few, but most of them weren't. And how many forwards were great goalies? Probably not many, right? So you play your position and everybody works together as a team across those positions, from the goalie to the defense, to the midfielders, to the forwards. I know these things because 2 of my daughters played soccer. So I understand. I'm not a soccer person, but I know enough for that. So I put it in that analogy. Tennis is different. I played tennis too. But so that's what you have to do. And that's how you make sure that messaging happens. That makes sure the website, people make a great website. They can make it perfectly great to do all this automated stuff and all this chatbot. Awesome. But if the content is all messed up, that doesn't help you sell. So again, that website, the content needs to be run by the product marketing team. So that's how you get everybody to work together and how you can be successful.
Mm-hmm. Eric, I would hate to end this without asking you about AI and how you are leveraging AI, or how you
Sure.
recommend to leverage AI for IT marketing.
Okay. So first of all, you need to be very cautious about leveraging AI. There's a lot of discussion going on in the analyst community about it. There are several Fortune 500 companies that have banned use of AI. And the reason is, depending on what you're doing, if you use some LLMs and SLMs and some of the things out there, when you create something, it automatically becomes public, automatically. Okay. Then when you're using AI to do certain things in marketing, it doesn't always respect trademarks, service marks, IP, patents. So the next thing you're making claims. Someone ran Chat GPT on me and they showed it to me, and it had 3 companies I'd never worked for saying that I worked for them. Okay. Now, 80% of it was correct, but the other 20% was not. So AI can be in a very, very valuable, but it needs human oversight. And in fact, I was at an analyst meeting with IDC, one of the large analyst firms, and the whole theme of the day was AI all over the place. And they talked about how many enterprises have literally committees of AI because they're worried about patent violations, lawsuits, slander. There's all kinds of things that AI could tell you. So for example, if someone used that AI and put something out about me that I worked at this company which was not true, I could probably sue them for that. So think about it when you're trying to create marketing materials in high tech and it says your competitors' products do A, B, and C, and the competitors' products don't do A, B, and C. And you're running around telling your sales guys that, and then they can't sell. Or you're running a competitive campaign and the customers go, they don't do that at all. These guys are freaking idiots. So AI is valuable, but it needs human oversight and it needs an intense scrutiny to avoid any legal entanglements. So AI can be a very, very powerful tool for marketing, but you got to be very cautious on how you use it, because if you use it the wrong way, you could end up in a lawsuit situation, and that's not what or you end up in a marketing campaign that's completely crazy and doesn't help you grow your business. So AI is useful, it just got to be monitored and controlled.
Eric, we started with sports analogy and want to end with a question with a sports analogy. You got to this point of your career being an expert, again, more than 40 years, but has there been any coach in your career, any mentor or that figure of a sports coach that really helped you and that you recommend others to follow as a thought leader or even as a mindset?
So basically what I've done is that every company I worked at the big companies, I've always had a mentor. And in fact, when I was at IBM the last time, I was a mentor to 15 people all over the world, including 3 people that had VP titles. I was their mentor. So mentoring is a big deal. If you look at some of my LinkedIn references, you'll see several people that worked for me 4, 5, 6 times, because I create a team atmosphere. I allow them to grow. I'm most proud that a whole bunch of people that work for me as a product manager or product marketing manager, they're freaking vice presidents now. And some of them have even said, and part of the reason I'm a VP is because of Eric Herzog. So it's all about finding the right mentors to help you. Okay. I think following sort of an industry guru is not the right way to go. I think you have to find mentors in your space. If you're in the software world, find some mentors there. And you got to make sure the mentors are there that really want to help you. Okay. And will guide you and not be overly critical. At the same time, you have to be critical. One of my friends, his father was a professional football coach. And when he had a barbecue one time, none of the players were there, but someone asked, he said, look, this guy is more critical of himself than anyone else is. And that's okay. But you want to be encouraging at the same time. So you want to find a mentor that can help you in understanding, can guide you, but at the same time appreciate your thought and what you're doing. Again, this is all about how you think. Okay. If you're going to have strategy and tactics, you got to be a thinker and a doer. You have to be able to execute, but you got to be able to strategize. And that's the most powerful way to do it. And getting the right mentor can help you learn how to do that.
All right, Eric. Well, thank you so much. Really enjoyed this episode. Appreciate you being on the podcast, and I'm sure the people will as well.
Great. Well, thank you for inviting us, and we really appreciate your time. I'm Zoggenstor at www.infinidat.com.
Thanks for listening to the Tailwind Marketing Podcast. If you enjoyed it, remember to subscribe for future episodes. Until next time.